Welcome to LiveDaf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Hello, Shalom Aleichem, and welcome back to today's Daf Yomi, Maseches NIDAH Chavav. We are on the very last line of Chaf Hei Beis, last two words. Sandal the Snan, we turn to the next Lamed Gabi B'charis. Sandal, she shed this entity called a sandal, which is a deformed fetus. And the Mishnayos give it status, meaning it's considered a birth experience regarding Tomas Leda, regarding B'choyer, regarding the Chiv to bring a korban on account of her birth. It's considered a fetus with status. But the question is, why bother discussing the status of the sandal? We know that a sandal, which is like a squished entity, happened because he had a fellow teammate in there. It was a twin who crowded him out. So in any case, there was another fetus there, which has status. So why even make mention of the sandal? Forget about the sandal. She gave birth to another valid balad, and that's why she has Tumas Leda, etc., etc. Ask the Gemara, sandal desnan gabi b'chor. So why even discuss the idea of a sandal regarding b'chor? There's a mission there that if an isha is mapil, discharges a sandal, the next child, Rashi says, we're assuming it's a year later or so, that will not be considered a b'chor, because b'chor regarding pidin haben depends upon who the peta rechem is, who actually went through the womb first. In this case, a sandal did. So the one following will not be a b'chor regarding pidin haben, what we call b'chor l'kohen obligations, but it will be considered a b'chor regarding nachla, will be entitled to double portion in his father's inheritance, which only applies to the first, viable birth. So the question is, why does the Mishnah even have to make mention? If she has a sandal, the one following is not considered a b'chor regarding kayy. Forget about the sandal. As we mentioned, together with the sandal, there was an accompanying twin, who certainly has status. So although he's not viable, we assume he's not viable, but it certainly is considered a developed fetus and has status. So that's going to be the question, why? Why, in the case of b'chor, and we have another Mishnah regarding korban, why discuss the sandal? Who in any case has a twin alongside him. Sandal is not a b'chor shlamei, so what's the point there? The answer is lava achrav. Rashi explains, no, we're not speaking about a year later. We're speaking about this very same birth, which began with a sandal, immediately followed by a subsequent fetus, that twin. Laba achrav is b'chor l'nachla, and b'chor l'kohen. Because he was preceded by the sandal, he loses the b'chor l'kohen status. So the kasha, we thought it was a year later, and it was preceded by a twin birth, one being a sandal, one being a proper fetus. Now obviously, the one a year later has no. The answer is no. We're talking about today. The sandal with his accompaniment, the sandal will exempt his accompaniment from being a b'chor. Same question we have in the Mishnah in Krisus. Sandal does not be Krisus. What's the point of discussing sandal by Krisus? The Mishnah there says, and that just like any Yolet, this brings a korban. She's mapile sandal, she brings a korban. Well, obviously, skip the sandal. It was a valid vlad alongside him. The answer is like this. Not all births trigger a korban. She'im teled vlad derech doifen. For instance, the accompanying twin came out through cesarean, in which case she's exempt from bringing a korban on that. It's not a proper birth. The sandal derech rechem, the sandal went out naturally. The ma'aser korban, not sandal. That's the point of the mission. She has to bring a korban because of the sandal. In this case, you can't apply a korban because of the other vlad, which was not born naturally, only on account of the sandal. That's the point of the mission. Well, Reb Shimon the Amar, according to Reb Shimon, who says every cesarean is considered halachically a birth regarding a korban. So back to the question. He says that even a yetzer derech doifen, vlad malyu, even a vlad that comes out there is considered a valid vlad and triggers a chiv carbon. Michael Meimar is now back to the question. Amar Yirmiyah. The point of mentioning the sandal is to address the following scenario. Pretty unique scenario. Fine, she was carrying twins. One turned out to be a sandal, and one a proper vlad. Now they emerged with some sort of time gap in between. She was in the process of converting, becoming a geyeris. She tailored vlad b'yosef diskacham, so the vlad came out when she was still a guy. There's no chiv carbon for that. So let's discount that element. The question was, you have a vlad alongside him? You can't reckon for him because he was when she was a guy. And the sandal came out post-conversion. The sandal achashin is gaira. And that's why the Mishnah has to tell us the ma'isa korban sandal. She'll bring a korban because of the sandal. So the question was, skip the sandal. No, you can't skip him. Because in this case, the vlad would not trigger a korban. It was when she was a guy. And the chiddush is the sandal has status and triggers a korban. Amru Rabbon Kamed Rav Papa. So the Bnei Yeshiva presented, these solutions to Rav Papa. The sandal came out later, right? And they asked, how's it practically possible? Don't we know that they assume that the twins sort of wrap together and come out simultaneously? Umi isnahol hanishinu. How could we apply all these answers? V'atani, we have a brayso, shenyotzim with the sandal and the accompaniment emerge, and yotzim al kruchan, they're wrapped together. So if they come out together at the same time, there goes our theory. Amar Papa Shmamino. Based on this whole discussion, we have to conclude as follows. Although they are wrapped in each other, but it's not like they come out exactly side by side. Rather, mikrach karachle vlad l'sandal apalge. The vlad, the fully formed fetus, is sort of attached himself to the sandal at the midpoint of the sandal. So the head of the vlad is sort of poking into the midpoint of the sandal. And he's sort of pushing him klapi reishei with his head. So you have the sandal up above or down below on the way out, and the vlad is sort of pushing him with his head, pushing the midpoint of the sandal. That's how he's trying to get him out. Okay, so which one comes out first? Well, it depends. If they're coming head first, so then the sandal will come out first. If they come out feet first, then it's the vlad, right? So let's go through case by case. Gabi Bechoros, in the case of the Mishnah Bechoros, where we're speaking that the sandal emerged first, and the chiddush is that he exempts his mother from petach, right, from pidna ben on the following vlad. We're speaking Kanshiyot Derech Roshem. They came out head first. The sandal called Benafik. In that case, the sandal comes out first because he's ahead of the game. Gabi Krisis, but the case of Krisis with the carbon, we're speaking Shiyot Derech Marguliseyim. They went out feet first. The vlad called Benafik, in which case the fully formed fetus came out first because he's sort of lagging behind. And that happened when she was still a goy, right? And then the sandal emerged once she turned a yid. And she'll bring a carbon on account of the sandal. Rav Huna bar Tachlifa Mishmei de Rav Amar, he had a different way to explain this. I feel with some summit, even if you're going to assume that they come out exactly side by side. It's still possible that they came out sequentially. We have to switch around Rav Papa's formula. He said that by Bechoros they went out head first, etc. We'll switch it around. By Bechoros, actually, Shiyotze Derech Margul is same. They went out feet first. And still, the sandal will have emerged first. Why? Vlad is bechiyus, the blood which has life. Sorach with an afka. He's holding on there. He doesn't want to come out. He's quite comfortable inside. He's learning Torah with the malach, right? Sandal less bechiyus shorach v'nafak, with the sandal which has no, which is lifeless, just slides out. So ultimately he'll come out first. Gabi Kresis. However, in the Mishnah Kresis, where we want the Vlad to have come out first when she was a goy and the sandal later, so you got to go the other way. They came out head first. And still, the Vlad is considered number one. Why? Vlad is bechiyusa. So even though they're coming out exactly side by side, but the Vlad which has life, with the nafek ratio have a later. There, the head is considered the pivotal, critical element. He's running the show. He's the life force of this entity. So when he's born, when the head comes out, it's considered its birth. As we're going to see later in the Chav Ches, that the head is what triggers the NIDAH process. But the sandal, which is a lifeless entity, the head has no special significance because there's no life going through it. It's only when we get to Roiv, most of its quantity, 51%, emerges. Now we have a NIDAH. So even though they're coming side by side, they're working on different tracks. The Vlad is already born once his head comes out, but the sandal has to wait until he's past his halfway mark. Okay, so to summarize, we had a kasha. Why speak about the status of a sandal if in any case he's accompanied by a proper Vlad, which has status? The answer is, so by Bechiris we're speaking that the sandal came out first, followed by the fetus. And the point is that the sandal is considered Peter Rechem and exempts the fetus from Pidin Haben. By Krisis we have the other way. The Vlad came out first, when she was still a goy, has no status regarding carbon, and the sandal followed after she converted. And the point is that a sandal is considered a valid Vlad regarding carbon. Continues the mission. Let's move on to the shilya. That's the placenta of the sac. So you discover shilya in the bayis, in the house, in the room. A bayis tummy, anything under that same roof is tummy because we assumed it was a fetus, which is no longer, which disintegrated, which passed away, and it's like any other mace, which is mitzami the area. Now, Lo Shilya Vlad, says the Mishnah. Don't think for a second the placenta itself has status. No. It's just that when there's smoke, there's fire. When there's a shilya, we assume it's an indication of the presence of a Vlad inside. El Shashain Shilya Vlad. You don't have a shilya without a Vlad. No, don't worry about the Vlad. It becomes nullified. Once it disintegrates and it gets dissolved into the other liquids, it becomes batal, non-entity. It's not matami. The Vlad disintegrated before he emerged, in which case it becomes nullified and is not matami. Shulya Tchilasa, how do you describe this Shulya? Tchilasa, it's beginning, it starts forming as Doim L'chut Shel Erev. Starts off as like a thread, an Erev thread, which is a bit thicker than the Shesi thread, that's the horizontal thread in the loom. The Seifa. So Tchilasa actually means the narrow side, so begins looking like a Chut Shel Erev. The Seifa, and it widens Doim L'Keturmas. So the other side is like a turmus, like some sort of bean, and it's hollow like a trumpet. Now, a shulya only has tum'ah status if it's at least a tefach long. If it's less than that, it's not, hasn't developed to the point that we assume there's a vlad inside. So it's dependent upon the shear of tefach. Shimon Gamliel Omer gives a different description to the shulya. Shulya. So again, how do we? What kind of shape does this shulya of concern have? Right? The Mishnah speaks about a shulya is an indication of a vlad. So the first brisa presented its formula. So if it has that shape, it has that size, is presumed to have contained a vlad. A shulya is going to be mitame if it presents as follows: Goyim looks like the crop of the chicken, shadakan, from which the intestines extend. So basically, it has to have such a distinct shape. Otherwise, if it's less than that, it's not going to have tumah status. We don't assume there was any vlad inside. Tani b'sheh zirud m'chavraya. Shaya, who was the youngest member of the younger member of the yeshiva. Some say actually they called him that way because Rashi and Tainus says because there was another Rabbi Yeshia who was more senior, so they called him Zeira. He's the younger one. Okay, he says, I'll give you a list. Chamisha. There are 5 items that are tefach dependent. Have a shear of tefach. Shear on tefach. Eluhain. What are these 5? Oh, shulya. We know that one. Shofar. The minimum size of a shofar is a tefach. Shidra. Spine of a lulav. We'll see soon. Doif and sukkah. The wall of a sukkah be'ezev. Okay, shulya damar. Shulya we just discussed. Needs to be at least a tefach to be metame. What is a shofar? The sanya. Kami hishir shofar. What's the minimum size of a shofar? Pirush Rabbi Gamliel. It has to be big enough that you can clutch it with your fingers, 4 fingers, and still it sticks out a bit on each side, which is a total of a tefach. It has to be long enough so that you grab it with your 4 fingers, and it can still be seen on either side, protruding a bit, and that's a tefach. I recall as a kid, we had a fellow in Daf Yomi Shir. He spoke about the animals that he was working in a shlachtais, and he was a menaker. And he told me he'll bring me a raw shofar straight off the animal. I was so pumped about it. Next day, sure enough, he brings this newspaper wrapped chunk of a head of an animal with the shofar sticking out. He says, "Have fun." And he gave me some tips of how to do it. Anyways, it really worked. We took it out outside, left it in the heat until sort of the bone inside the tissue shriveled and slid off the head. And we took this nail, made it really red hot on the gas range, and poked it through the opening, and we had a little mouthpiece, and cleaned it and washed it. And then came the day we tried it, and it really worked. But it was very faint. Like, it was really cute. And it was just big enough. It was from a ram, and it was like this big. And it was big enough. It was and it really worked. Okay, so that's the second halacha. Shidra mai. What's the point of the? How does this relate to the spine of a shofar? Damari parnach amar b'yechnan. Shidra shalulav. So when you bind the hadas and the ravas to the lulav, you have to ensure that there's some free wiggle space. So above that top ring or whatever you're going to do to tie it together, you have to leave a tefach. But not enough to leave a tefach of the leaves of the lulav. It has to be a tefach, at least a tefach of the actual spine, which is where the leaves join. The actual spine has to be above the hadas and the ravas. And then you have the leaves above it. So that's the third halacha. Doif and sukkah. How does this relate to the wall of sukkah? The san yishtaim kil chasen. A sukkah needs to be constructed of 2 full-size walls, 7 tvachim, right? Enough to house a person on his table, most of a person on his table. And then the shlishis, once you have that in place, the third wall need only be a tefach, filo tefach, ezayv. So those are the grass is used for the paraduma and etc. Taner b'chia, ezayv tefach, needs to be at least a tefach long. Amar b'china papa, darish shila ish kvar tamarta. So he told us like this: Glas masnyasya, v'tarati shmaitza, shir tefach. The shir of tefach applies to 5 halachos, and he categorized it like this: 3 are brises, and 2 are shmaitza, halachos related, personally by the Amiroim. Asked the Gemara, 2 were presented by Miroim. Tarti chadi is just 1, the one of the lulav. Everything else is a brise. Abaye. Amar b'chia ezav tefach. So he says, instead of the ezav being the Tani Rabchia was, Rashi explains, was a Tana and Amir. He lived right in the divider between the Tanaim and Amiroim. So some things he presented Tani Rabchia, which is has a status of a brisa from a Tana, and others he says Amar Rabchia as a status of an Amira. Maybe this one he taught when he was already in the Amoraic era, and the other one when he was still younger in the Tanaic era. However he explained it, but the point is that we're revising. Instead of Tani Rabchia giving it a status of brisa, just Amar Rabchia as if tefach. So now it's 3 and 2. We have 3 brises and 2 from Amiroim. V'suleka, asked the Gemara, is that it? Only 5 tefach related items? But Ika, we have another one. Mishnah Oles. Okay, let's take a tour through Shas. Tefach al rum tefach meruba. You have a space which is the size of tefach by tefach, meaning a tefach square. Maybe it's atuma. So you have this space under this cover. That is the status of an oil, a roofed area, and it can import tuma. It can create its own environment and block tuma out from coming in. Basically, it's its own enclosure. As long as it's a tefach in size, so why isn't this on our tefach list? Answers the Gemara. Here it's much more complex. It's not just a tefach in one direction. It's tefach by tefach. It's a square thing. Tefach coming in, we're speaking about a plain tefach, like the length of a lulav, a one-dimensional halacha. We're not talking about a multiple-dimensional tefach requirement. But Ika asked the Gemara, okay, let's go to Mishnah and Kalim. Evan ayetzim natano tefach. You have an oven. You have a ledge, sort of a little shelf, a stone sticking out of the tana. If it's up until a tefach, then it's considered like a handle. It serves the oven, and it sort of shares the same status as the tanner. Tanner is tummy. The tummy can be exported through the handle as well. It's all one and the same item. But if it's longer than a tefach, it's meant to be trimmed. It's not going to be there long term, and therefore it doesn't share the same halachic status as the tanner. It's boys. When we speak about a more smaller type of appliance, a kira, which is just like a range, a cooking range. So there, the ledge can be up until 3 finger widths, length. Otherwise, it's going to be removed. Okay, in any case, we see that there's a din of tefach by the tanner. Put it on our list. Our list only relates to heicha the batzim tefach lechazi. We're talking about tefach minimums. The wall of the sukkah, grass of the paraduma. Tefach is a minimum. Aval hacha here, just the opposite. The ledge coming out of the tanner, the smaller the better. Over here, tefach is a maximum. Koshkin, certainly the batzim tefach tanner. If it's less than tefach, of course it's a yad of a tanner. So it's a different type of halach. Vayikra. Ask the Gemara. Here comes another one. Talmud Bavli. Tanurei bonos. The play ovens that the little girls make to practice their cooking, their baking. Tefach. What qualifies? Even if it's a tefach. And it's considered a utensil regarding tumah, the sanya. Tanot chilas arba, shiur of dalet. So the starting point of a tanner is, it's 4 tvachim high, it's now activated, it's considered mekabel tumah, shiur arba, and if it sort of got dismantled, broke, as long as you have 4 tefach standing, when do we require 4 tefach? When it's a large size oven, a regular oven, but if it's a small, child's oven, there's no minimum 4 tefach in size requirement. Even if it starts off as a small one, once you finish producing, it's finished being made. And regarding the full size oven, if it breaks apart, even if most of it is standing, it's still okay. So this is a discussion between Reb Chamer and Meir. But in any case, the Gemara is going to try to define when we say, the small one, even kosher. Kosher can't be just a little teeny. It's got to have some function. The kama kosher, what's called a kosher? Tefach. Tefach is a minimum. Tefach because the little girls make it that size. Okay, so we found another halacha that relates to a tefach. If it looks like a minor, the answer is we don't want to get involved in something which is up for dispute, such as this halacha, which is the machlekes. Answer the Gemara, okay. The same answer could be given on the previous question as well. Now you came to this point that we're going to keep away from disputes. Hanami, so the previous story as well with the ledge coming out of the oven is really subject to machlekes, and that's why it was omitted off the list. Plukte, it's really subject to machlekes. It's tani. They're saying because the Mishnah itself concludes Amar Yehuda. He says Le'amru tefach elam natan l'koisel. When do we say that past the tefach it's going to be trimmed? That's only when the tanner is situated near the walls. So if it's a ledge too long, it's creating a barrier. So it's going to be trimmed off to bring the thing closer to the wall. But otherwise, it's just a freestanding oven. Then a ledge can be as long as you want. Tanakama disagrees. Tefach is always the requirement. So again, it's machlokes, and that's why it's not on the list. But why are we only why are we stopping at 5? Here comes some more tefach-related halachas. Vayikra mizgaras tefach. We find by the shulchan in the Beis Hamikdash, the one that had the blachim apanim, it had a lip, a tefach high. We're not getting involved in things which are written in the Torah. Everybody knows the Chumash. We don't have to. Vayikra kaparis. What about the thickness of the cover of the aron tefach, which we learned back in Masechah Sukkah, is a tefach. We're not talking about, holy related, kedusha related items. Oh, here comes the Mishnah in Erevin. So they had this beam placed across the entranceway to the alleyway to separate it from the street, to make it a discernible entity. And that beam has to have, significance. It has to look like a, building beam, a tefach wide. Okay. A tefach related halach. The Rabban like Rav Ashi did not mention things which are the Rabbanans. Rather, Ella, and that Torah requirement is only the Rabbanan, not Torah that's in a closed area, surrounded by 3 walls. It's just that it sort of blends into the streets. In order to remove any confusion, they have to make some sort of, visible distinction. So it's only midrabanan. Ella, rather, our list only encompasses b'tachsivan, items which are stated in the Torah, so they're deraises. But the shir was not, clearly articulated in the Torah, and that's why he made a listing of items which you should know are all tefach related. V'lo mifar shirai, whose shir was not clearly articulated in the Torah, rather through Torah Shabbat Peh, so only those made it onto the list, and that explains why it's limited to 5. Okay, now let's go back to the sugya of the shilya, of the placenta, which the Isha discharged. Yosef, Rabbi Yitzchak, Bar Shmuel, Bar Marta Kamei Rav Kahana. Rabbi Yitzchak Bar Shmuel was sitting in front of Rav Kahana. Yosef, V'ka Amar. And he was sitting and saying over like this. Amar B'dam Rav. You should know, Rabbi quotes Rav. Kol Shloisha, Yom HaRishayim. So we spoke about a shilya being an indication of the presence of a vlad inside, and therefore we give it status. Suppose she gave birth to a real vlad on Sunday, and then it was followed by a placenta within 2-3 days. Shall we simply relate it to the vlad of Sunday and say, look, it's all one and the same, there's nothing else going on? Or is it a new entity? Shall we reckon for another vlad, additional vlad? In which case she has to act accordingly. She has to, let's say the first one was a zachar, and the zachar only requires a shorter yimei tumah, only 1 week. But because of the shilya, she'll have a concern. Perhaps it was nekeva. She has to observe longer yimei tumah. So it really depends how soon after. Kol shloisha yom rishayim, within the first 3 days, we just attribute it to the birth. And there's no concern of additional, presence of more. Tell us Hashil Vlad, we relate the Shili to the Vlad. We can relate past 3 days. That's too far to relate it to the Vlad of Sunday. And therefore, we're concerned perhaps it represents a new entity, and maybe it's an akeva. And she has to count accordingly. Amarle. So this was presented to Rav Kahana. Rav Kahana responded to Rabbi Shmuel, who quoted the Ridam Rav. He says, is that true that according to Rav, past Tuesday, the Shilya perhaps represents a new entity? Rav tells us, when we have twins, you should know that the twin does not linger. He comes out right away. So how could we even entertain the possibility that the Shilya, which came out 4 days later, represents a new Vlad? He would have come out right away. Ishtik. So Rabbi Yitzchak didn't have an answer. Amar Leitz, Rav Kahana says, maybe I can offer a solution. It really depends what happens Sunday. If Sunday was a healthy birth, so his twin rushes out alongside him. But if it's a nafal, a miscarriage, so it wasn't really a conventional, birth. And anything can happen. The companion could wait a week till he comes out. Dilma perhaps kampanafel. He was speaking about a miscarriage. Kampan kayom. He was speaking about a valid, healthy birth. Amarle, so Yitzchak told him, actually, right on. At amras l'shmaitze the Rav. You were trying to, resolve Rav's halacha and reconcile it. And actually, you hit right on. Beferish Rav Hachi, Rav himself already explained it. He said, "Pila nefel v'achach pila shilya." If Sunday was a miscarriage, followed later on by the shilya, then depends how close, how far. Kol shleisha yom, within 3 days. Toilin es hashil v'vlad. We attribute the shilya to Sunday's experience. But past 3 days, we're concerned about a new vlad. That's because Sunday was a miscarriage. But Yolda, Sunday was a healthy birth. And then comes a shilya. Even if it's 10 days later, we assume the shilya belongs to Sunday's birth, because if there would be something else, he would come out right away. Even up until 10 days. We're not concerned about an additional vlad. Here comes another halacha where we do not attribute the shilya to the vlad. Shmuel, but Talmid the Rav, together with Rav's students, and also Rav Yehuda. Rav Yasvi was sitting, and they noticed this man coming alongside, Chalaf Azel, who walks by Rav Yosef, Breda of Menashe, Midville, from this place, Apayu, in front of them. And he was sort of rushing by. He wasn't giving them their attention. Bali Vasi. Shmuel didn't take to it too well. He perceived it as a lack of respect, just, zooming by without giving them, not acknowledging them. Amar. So he says, Asilan Gabri, here comes a man in a rush. The Raminale, we're going to give him a little bit musar. And, put things in perspective. Slow him down a bit. The Raminale, Begila de Chitzas, he expressed himself like this. We have the man who could just throw him into a pile of wheat straw. Meaning, we just, can very easily throw him off kilter. Marmi Matchi, we'll ask him and just throw him off and stump him. Okay, as he approaches them, so Shmuel takes the opportunity. Shmuel tells him, "My Amar B'Shilya, can you please relate to me a halacha that Rav said regarding the Shilya phenomenon?" Amalei, he says, "I'll tell you, Acham Rav." Rav says like this: "Ein toilenes haShilya, ela b'davar shel kayama." The only time we attribute the Shilya to the birth, to Sunday's birth, is only if Sunday was a davar shel kayama, something which was properly developed. Meaning, even if it was a miscarriage, it wasn't a violence, but it looked developed, it looked formed, as opposed to a deformed, super defective type of entity. That wouldn't cover the shilya. Meaning, if you have a shilya following this experience, if what happened Sunday looked like a properly developed entity, which had potential to live, if he would have stayed in the full term, then we can attribute the shilya that follows to him, because he's properly developed. We assume he also comes with a shilya, the package deal. But if Sunday's entity was so deformed and so not developed, had never had potential to go anywhere, so in this case, the shilya that came out even within 3 days triggers a concern of an accompanying vlad that belonged to another entity. We don't attribute it to this, failed, deformed, undeveloped entity. Shalinu l'Shmuel, Shmuel heard this interesting twist, which he hadn't known before. So he asked the other Talmidim there. Yeah, they concurred. Yeah, Rav actually said this. So now there was another member of the group there, Rav Yehuda. If you recall, Rav Yehuda was the one who had quoted Rav, and that quote was presented by Rav Yitzchak bar Shmuel bar Marta to Rav Kahana there. And Rav Yitzchak bar Shmuel did not really add this point. He did not include this point in his presentation, right? What did he say over there? He said that Sunday she had some sort of experience, and then it was followed by a shilya. If it was close by within 3 days, we blame it on Sunday. We attribute it to Sunday's, vlad. But past that point, it opens a concern that perhaps it relates to a new vlad. But Shmuel was a bit sort of perturbed that Rav Yehuda never added this point to his statement. That when do we attribute the shilya, within 3 days we attribute it to the vlad of Sunday? That's only when Sunday's vlad had potential. It was developed to the point that it could have, lived on. But otherwise, if it's some severely deformed type of thing, then a shilya which comes even within 3 days cannot be attributed to that entity. I'm concerned that perhaps it represents a new entity. Hadar. So after he heard that the Rav, in fact, this was in fact confirmed to be Rav's opinion, Hadar Chazi Rav Yehuda Bishus. So he took a look at Rav Yehuda with a sort of perturbed expression, like, why didn't you add this point? It would have added more clarity to what you said. Okay, but in any case, that's the conclusion here. Now regarding a shilya, which comes after a Leda, okay, so Sunday she had some sort of birth, then a while later there was a shilya. Shall we just blame it on Sunday's birth? Part of the same, or do we have to entertain the possibility that shilya represents a new vlad with all its ramifications? So let's start from the bottom, the end of the sugya. If Sundays was a non-starter, then in fact a shilya, which came out even within 3 days, arouses the possibility that it really represents a new vlad. But if Sunday's experience was what we call davar shel kayama, something which had potential to live, if it would have, finished its term, you see the formation, you see the development there. So then within 3 days we say the shilya belonged to it. Past 3 days, we're concerned that perhaps it represents a new entity. Now this is all regarding miscarriage. If it was a proper birth on Sunday, even up to 10 days, we say chances are this shilya belongs to Sunday's birth and we don't have to be concerned otherwise. Okay, let's just say another piece here. He asked Rabbi an interesting question. Let's say she miscarried. Something which has a very strange appearance, looks like a raven. Followed by a shilya. Should we just blame the shilya on the Erev? Or do we say, no, the shilya is representative of a new vlad? Amrleis, he says, Ein toil ela b'davar sheish min shilya. You can't blame the shilya on the Erev. Erev never comes with a shilya. This species doesn't generate a shilya. So we're compelled to speculate that the shilya, in fact, represents a new entity. So he added, let's say it's actually attached, it's like wrapped in the Erev. What would you say in this case? Amalei says impossible. Yes, something which is impossible. Because the Erev doesn't have a placenta attached to it. And so he asked him a kash. Hapelas min behema chayv oif. A woman is mapel, something which has a behema chayv oif appearance, and it's accompanied by a shilya. Bisman shashilya kshurim oif, the shilya is attached to them. We're not concerned about an additional vlad. We say this is it, and it doesn't count as a leda. And if there's no dam there, she's tummy. If the shilya is not attached to these entities, then maybe in the shilya there was another vlad which disintegrated. So we're concerned about an additional vlad, and hareni matel lein chomishnei vlades. So now I impose on her a double stringency, meaning we reckon with the behema-looking entity, and also with the shilya. Shaniyam, because I have to speculate, shemani moyach, shifir shal shilya. Perhaps this shilya represents a new entity, and the shfir, the formation inside, the fetus inside, disintegrated. It's no longer here. So the shilya represents, maybe it was in a keva, which requires a longer yimei tumah of 2 weeks. V'ni moicha shilya shal shfir. Whereas the behema-looking entity, which we're calling the shfir, the fetus entity, his shilya disappeared. And the shilya that he discovered belonged to the accompanying nekeva. Rashi explains, according to Shitas Rabbana, the behema-looking creature does not trigger any leda status. So then we have to be concerned that perhaps she had no leda at all, so she's not entitled to Yimei Tahara. On the other hand, maybe the shilya represents an nekeva, so she has to keep Yimei Tumah, so she's sort of machmer on all fronts. Bottom line, what do we see? That there's a discussion of a possible phenomenon of having a mapelas min oif, discharging something which has a bird-like look. So let's say an oirev, and Mishnah speaks about a shilya attached to it. The Brisa says the shilya could be attached to it. Unlike Rebbe, who says it's an impossible proposition, Tvifta, it's refutation. Okay, so we spoke about the status of a sandal as having status regarding Bechor, regarding Karban Leda. We spoke about the shilya as well, but not because of the shilya per se, by its own merit, because it's presumed to have contained a vlad. We spoke about the required configuration, the design, the size of the shilya to have that status. And we had a list of 5 tefach-related halachas. We discovered many more, but we explained the uniqueness of the 5 on this list. These are based on the Raisa, which needed to be clarified by the Chachamim. We spoke about a shilya, whether it presents a concern of an additional vlad or to be attributed to the original vlad, depending on the status, depending the appearance of the vlad, depending on the timing. How close, how distant to the vlad experience. Okay, all the best to you, and Atzlacha Rabbah.